Jyree. If you're new to the Lions, then welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are not new, then you already know what's going on here. All right. Once again, Bigger is coming out in like 9 days. So I really felt the need to come on here and talk to y'all about the lyrics, talk to y'all about, just the overall environment, just everything that, I was going through writing this, and I'm not doing this for y'all. I'm doing this for me. So I'm doing this for me and the Lions, in the den already. If you're outside of the den trying to, get in, this might not be the time or the place for you to really join the den unless you just feel propelled, you know. So that is that. Once again, I'm gonna give a major shout out to myself, give a major shout out to just my Lions, and a major shout out to all the great things happening above. So with that being said, we got Bigger. Bigger is coming out in days. And when I first got the beat, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, when I first got the beat, and as the people come in, this is not a live about numbers. None of my lives are or anything I do is ever about numbers. So this is just for the record, by the way. This is a for the record. So yes, when I first got the beat, I'm not gonna lie, I heard the beat. I think I actually was beat shopping. I heard the beat. I liked it. The producer was K Daddy. K Daddy. He's actually from overseas. And I just like the ambience of his beats. You have people who not even people. You have artists who come on here and they talk about, they do the same thing that I'm doing right now, and they're talking about their music or whatever, and they don't really give a fuck. They don't really care about the ambience, and so I'm bringing that up because the things that I'm about to talk about and the things that I'm discussing, I care about them and I enjoy myself at the end of the day. So before first and foremost, before anybody cares about the producer who produced the record, I do. I do. So major shout out to K Daddy, major shout out to Ivan. I really, really, really appreciate him. He is like, he's cool. Like I love his beats. I'm not gonna lie. But so when I first heard this beat, I was beat shopping and the ambience of it, it was just something nostalgic about it. Like I'm not gonna lie, like it was something that was very much modern, but very much vintage. You know what I mean? Like the beat had this it's like an old school song that I can't really remember and I don't know the name to because the beat is not a sample. The beat does not have a sample in it. But it's this old school song. I don't know why the 70s keep like the 70s or maybe the 80s. It might have been the 90s, but it's just something about that beat reminds me of that. So so yeah, I heard the beat and initially, like I told y'all a while back, I heard it and I just started saying the lyrics. If I'm being honest with you, I just started saying the lyrics. If you're new, if you're just coming on, we just got this started. So I just started saying the lyrics or whatever, and that was that. I think I previewed the song on live a couple months ago, but I deleted it off my page or made it private or whatever. So yeah, got the beat from Ivan. I went in there, keeping it sexy. I'm keeping it hot. When I first got the beat, I was still with someone who I'm no longer dealing with anymore. And I'm only letting y'all in, not because just because I want to, just because I want to. Like I said earlier in the live earlier, you have people they come artists who come on here and they talk about the beats and all that corny shit and they don't care about it. I actually do. I've been in music since I was a little boy. So yeah, I was with somebody who I'm no longer with when I first got the beat. Shout out to Ivan. And like I just started writing and I was just like keeping it sexy. I'm keeping it hot. I do what I want because I am what you're not, and at this time I'm blowing so much money, I was just talking about my life, honestly, you know, but it's kind of like, I ain't gonna say like, I'm not gonna sit up here and say that I'm not gonna sit up here and say that if you ever been laid up with somebody who don't really care about you, that they don't really have your best interest at heart. That's kind of what that first line came from. I'm keeping it sexy, I'm keeping it hot. I do what I want because I am what you're not. 150 on shoes, just the spice of my plot. So I'm just basically talking my ish. And both after that talking my ish part, I was singing, and then thanks like so much stuff has happened since March. March is when I first started writing that. It's crazy because that time of my life, I remember, I'm not going to say exactly what happened, but something happened and a person just gave me a look. They just gave me a look. And like, it's just like, I don't know. If I'm being real with you, I feel like that look they gave me was to leave the person that I was with. That's the look they gave me. And I remember writing that song right then and there in front of everybody. And I was just in my own little world writing Bigger. And I'm proud of myself because I really the old me would have just been like, bump it, I'm gonna just scrap it. And especially if I couldn't record it right then and there, I would have just scrapped it and moved on. But I didn't do that because this song meant something to me. So like, hearing the beat, hearing the nostalgia in the beat, it sounded like something out of like the 70s or the 80s or something, but with like this modern eclectic twist. I just like the ambience. Like it gave me like a Missy Elliott vibe, or like a just like how beats have this, like it's so much going on, but it's like it intertwines very well. That's how that beat, that's how Bigger, that's the beat for Bigger. When you first hear it, it's like, oh, I've heard this before. I think I've heard a sound like this before. Not as far as my voice, but as far as the beat. um, so we go into the next part, and I'm just talking about, just talking ish. One thing I can sit up here and say is that, like, you have people who say they talk ish in a record, and they're saying a whole bunch of nothing. I'm being very specific, very direct, and very much just talking my ish in a good, bold way. We get into the part where I'm like, you got a new nigga, you think he look better? That nigga could never do it how I do it. You low on your figures, you broken, you bitter. That Suno could never do it how I do it. If you know what Suno is, if then you don't. But Suno can never do it how I do it. Um, so that is that, and that's this song is it's a statement piece. Essentially, that's what I'll say, because it's like for the people who it's for, they know it's for them, and the people who and by the people I mean the people that I'm talking ish towards, because it's a lot of times in my career where I was quiet, or just in life where I was quiet. This song is opening things back up, just from top to the bottom, from beginning to the end. I'm coming in hard, I'm finishing it even stronger. And I just I'm proud of myself that I didn't give up on my vision, that I didn't give up. Because doing a lot of stuff, it can be turbulent. It can be very turbulent and nerve wracking, but you have to want it. When it comes to what I do, you have to want it, because it's a lot of adversity that will come in your way and make you really want to give up and say, fuck it, I don't care. I'm over it. I don't care about that. So that's that. Then we get into the chorus, and it's like I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I feel like this song is really appropriate because I literally am. My numbers are getting bigger. I'm getting more stable in my life, more stable in my confidence, even more than I was before. I'm getting bigger. One thing about me, I want y'all to know that the stuff that I put out, it's kind of me letting you in on my life or what I'm going through at that time, for real, for real. So Bigger is coming out because I'm getting bigger. By the end of 2026, wow, like wow. Um, and time is only going to show what I'm saying right now. But yeah, like I'm getting bigger, and then we get into the second, like the pre-chorus. It gives me very poppy rap. It got a certain vibe to it. I don't want to say too much, but it has a certain vibe to it. Just this light pop, R&B, hip hop ish, bridgy thing. And then we go back into the rap where I'm coming in, coming in hard, and I say things like, don't listen to your mama because she'll have you lose out on love. Of course, listen to your mama. But sometimes when it comes to your relationship, stop listening to the people around you. Sometimes you'll miss out on people who genuinely care about you. So that's where that part was coming from. And then I get into the whole part where it's like, put me in that part of that Fendi, that Gucci, that Louis Vuitton. They want a cameo showing my body, my willy get back to the front. I'm trying to, it's just like the way that beat, those lyrics, it just do something to me because I'm really talking my Asian. It's like I can feel it. I want to be in that Prada, that Fendi, that Gucci, that Louis Vuitton. I want the cameos. I want this. I want that. I want this. You know, um, and honestly, yeah, I deserve that. And like I've said, this song is also about like just existing and showing that I'm a boss, but being humble with it, but not for society's sake, not to not shit on people so they won't feel good within themselves, but for my sake, because I like being humble. I don't like all that, I feel like a statement is supposed to be loud but flashy, because when it's loud and flashy, it's corny. You get my drift? So that is that. Yeah, so just talking that talk, no longer being the underdog, no longer being the struggling artist, struggling to fund, or to build certain things and to do certain things like that. Really just getting bigger, really elevating, really doing my thing, and I start this I end the song off on this line. It's like, I'm sitting big like Obama. And I feel like just ultimately time is going to show everybody and everyone with exactly what I was saying, exactly what I'm talking about right now, because I don't just think about my life right now. I think about my life in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. I just think about my life, for years to come. And if you don't do that, maybe you're just not purposeful. You don't feel like you have a purpose, or maybe you just don't give a fuck about life. One thing about me, I give very much a fuck about life. I take life very seriously, and I love my life, and I'm appreciative of it. So, one thing I've always said in the Lions Den is that even when nobody was looking, when one person was looking, 10 people or 1,000, I kept going. And that's why I've made it this far. But after this year, that talk, that rhetoric is done, because people are going to have no choice but to look at me and but to see me, because I'm working. And it's like, I'm working smarter, not harder. I used to work myself to death. Um, all because of my ignorance, because of my lack of wanting to understand, certain things about my craft. And now that I've gained the knowledge, yeah, I'm working smarter, not harder. So Mason Jyree, I'm definitely somebody to look out for, and I mean that in a playful sense, because it's not like we're out here in the streets. We're creatives, okay? It's not like it's like we're playing a game of football, but we're just artists. So I'm definitely somebody to look out for, when it comes down to it, because I bring something that the world has never seen before, and I'm very proud of myself. Very, very proud of myself. So Bigger will definitely be out in 9 days. That's that. That's that. I told y'all you're gonna have to catch me when you catch me. So you got to catch me when you catch me, because, and most importantly, for those of you who do, because we're almost at 1,400, those of you who do get into me, when I'm dropping stuff, that's when you can get into my inner world, because I was a little too personable last year. You know what I mean? Personability. I'm gonna always be personable, even when I'm accepting Grammys, or even when I'm walking down the street and I see random people. I'm always gonna be personable and be kind. Because that's me. That's just me. But you got to catch me when you catch me, if you catching my drift right now. You know what I mean? When you have something so good, you can't always let it be available all the time. So that's that. You catch me when you catch me. So you got to make sure that you're on my Instagram, my TikTok, because this year the TikTok videos, I'm gonna roll them out. Because I'm a comedian. I crack myself up, y'all. I'm not gonna even lie. My Instagram. One thing I can say about Instagram, I missed the time where Instagram was like 2015, 2014. This is before I even had what I have going on now as far as my notoriety, my career. But I just miss when you could just post random ish. Like I just miss when stuff was so simple. Like, so that's one reason why I'm a little bit slower on Instagram, because I'm not with the superficial me. Let me flex and show the world somebody that I'm not. um, Instagram is not really one of those platforms that like supports authenticity. If I being honest with you, it supports more so of trends and what everybody else has going on, and that I detest. Not forcibly, but just because I just can't do the trends. Like, I'm a trendsetter. I don't follow the trends. I just can't do it. So, um, that's that. So, make sure you still follow me there, because eventually I will be posting pictures and doing little photo shoots and all that different type of stuff. Like, ugh, you know what I mean? But yeah. Make sure you get me on TikTok. Make sure you definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel, for sure, for sure, for sure. I know last year I said that we're doing a lot of things. We still are doing those things, but I don't know, something different just came over me as far as just like my mindset and how I want to handle what I'm doing right now. And how I want to continue to build what I'm building. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna definitely do those things, but we're gonna be methodical. We're gonna be very much methodical. Not we, me. I have to be methodical. It's certain checkpoints and certain bulletins points that have to be in place before we move and do other things. But that does not mean that we're not moving. I want y'all to understand this, and I want y'all to take this from me. Just because you're not making grandiose steps that everybody outside of your life can see, never let that make you feel like you're not working. Always keep that. The best work is done when nobody else sees it. The best work is done when you don't feel the need to get external validation. Always remember that. The small steps are the big steps. Never let the world trick you out your spot and make you forget that. And it's like I'm my own mentor. I'm my own coach. So I kind of, when it comes to certain stuff, I just kind of try to put people on and let them know, like, everything don't have to be big. Everything doesn't have to be so big to the point to where you get a response from other people. As long as you are content within yourself, for real, and you're happy about what you've done, that's all that matters. Now, if you want the response, you gotta work for it. But ultimately, as long as you're happy with what you've done and with what you're creating, what you're building for yourself, no matter what it is, no matter what it is. I feel like sometimes people who are not creative, they kind of they forget that I'm also applying this just to regular life. Even if you're a plumber, even if you want to start your own plumbing business, it doesn't matter who doesn't get it. Do it. It's nothing like being your own boss. It doesn't matter what level it's on. You don't have to be a national plumber. If you take over your city being the best plumber, you still have garnered success. You still have done something that most people were scared to do. You know, you've got to know that, like, and I'm only telling y'all this because this is what I tell myself. If I'm being real, I don't even tell myself this. I was born with this knowledge. I just know this. The world isn't going to always understand greatness. You know what I mean? And greatness doesn't always have to be major. Greatness can be something so simplistic as just you existing and accomplishing a goal that you wanted to accomplish since you were a child. Never let people feel like because you aren't making big, grandiose moves, or because you aren't chasing the superficial trends that we see online, that you aren't doing what you need to do. Because real bosses, it just seems like they pop up one day, but they've really been working for years. They've been working for years. In order for you to be accepted, you have to be rejected. That's from personal experience. Because there's certain things that come with being rejected. When you're oftentimes too accepted off rip in life or just in whatever you're doing, you get comfortable. Your ego gets too high. You're not able to take criticism. And so when the rejection does come, you spiral. You have to be able to take rejection in order to be accepted. I don't ever, if I'm being quite frank and quite honest with y'all, no, you're good. If I'm quite frank and quite honest with y'all, I never really, the stuff that I say is definitely to inspire people who are artists and creatives, but it's more so to inspire people in life. I'm just an artist, I'm just a creative, but I'm still a person living life. So hopefully you will get the message within the parables or whatever I'm telling you and apply it back to yourself. Okay? I've too many times in life, people, they look at people and they try to base their life off of what they see. You can't base your life off of me. You can't base your life off of what you think I have going on or what you think I built for myself just because you feel like we have certain similarities. Don't do that. Not to be too boastful, but I never did that. And that's not how you become how I am. You just got to lock in on yourself and focus on yourself. And you got to honestly understand that what you bring to the table, I tell y'all this all the time about me. I know that what I bring to the table, nobody else brings it on any other layer, energetically, physically, romantically, in my artist career, my acting, my personality. Nobody is Mason Jyree. I'm one of the top of the top. I'm being honest, just a vibe, a vibe, a vibe. And people got to start thinking about that. They got to start thinking like that about themselves too. Because when you start thinking about yourself like that, you'll stop being fascinated with other people's world, and you'll realize, hold up, now this is my world. Not out of arrogance, not out of ego, but because you just know who you are. Okay? You just know who you are, and you know how you're giving it up. I'm all for people making sure they, like, well, let me get something to drink, y'all. I'm all for people making sure they, because I know I give off this, it's it's my world, but it's not just my world, it's y'all world too. We all live in this world. Make life yours. Make life yours. Make life big. Sometimes, you know how I say stuff like not being egotistical. I'm about to stop saying that, because if you feel like I'm egotistical, you need to go check the previous lives. If you feel like I'm cocky and it's confidence, go check the previous lives, because you obviously don't know me. Stop feeling like when you meet somebody and they have obtained a certain level of confidence that you have not, that they're egotistical or they're too much. No, you are just insecure. You got to step it up. I was at that point once in my life too. I was there too. It's just human nature. It's human nature. That's why I say me inspiring people. It ain't just about music. It's about just in everyday life. inspiring people to just be the best version. And another thing, when I say the best version, listen, I don't mean that upstanding citizen. I don't mean all that corny cliche shit. The best version that you were meant to be when you were born. I don't mean all that other shit that they be talking about, y'all. Please. I know it comes off very, hierarchy, Americanism. No, it's not like that. I mean, in a way of just being the best version of you that your soul was born to be. That's what I mean, on a deep level. Very, very, very much so. Because honestly, that's what we're doing. That's what we all are. Just souls living in bodies, accomplishing our goals, chasing our dreams. And sometimes we get blinded by the superficial BS in life that doesn't even matter. Okay? You're never going to find anybody. I mean, you may. Let me not say this. You're never going to find anybody on this level or on a growing level like me to keep it as real as I do. That's all I'm going to say. Days, and there's going to come a time where, like I said, we won't be able to talk like this. So y'all got to get with me or you will be lost. I love y'all, Lions. Stay hot, stay spicy. Bigger is out in 9 days. Why not bigger and why not me? Once again, it's your boy Mason Jyree. I'll see you guys later.